7:15 a.m. You're standing in your kitchen and pouring your second cup of coffee because the first one didn't even touch the brain fog. Your daughter asks you, "What's for breakfast?" And you just stare at her for 3 full seconds before the words even process. Here's what's actually happening. That coffee that you're drinking on an empty stomach just spiked your cortisol, triggered inflammatory cytokines in your gut, and sent your immune system into overdrive before you even got your kids to school. I'm Jennifer Franchak. I'm a functional nutritionist and an AIP certified coach. And today I'm showing you the exact 4-step morning routine that will help you to regulate your immune system and clear your brain fog without adding a single extra minute to your morning. Because the problem isn't what you're doing, it's when you're doing it. Now, I know this might be a little controversial because I love coffee, but the first thing that you do when you wake up should not be to have a cup of coffee. It should actually be to hydrate. And I'm talking about specifically having a mug of warm water, about 16 ounces, with about a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and the juice from about a half of a lemon. Now, here's why this matters. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body is actually mildly dehydrated. Your cortisol should rise naturally when you wake up, but with autoimmune disease, your HPA axis, which is your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, can be dysregulated. What does this mean? This means that cortisol either spikes too high, which triggers inflammation, or stays too low and it leaves you feeling drained with low energy. And guess what? Being dehydrated makes this worse. So when you drink sea salt and lemon water first thing, you're actually rehydrating your cells. And this reduces inflammatory cytokine production. And this supports your adrenal glands, which are responsible for producing cortisol. And the other function that this helps with, which is so important, is that you're actually priming your gut lining. You're preparing it for digestion without shocking the system. Now, the type of salt that you use is really important here because table salt is just sodium chloride. But sea salt contains really important minerals like magnesium, potassium, and other trace minerals that are going to activate your sodium-potassium pump. This is the mechanism in our bodies that lets nutrients enter the cells and waste to exit. Without it, your brain cells can't properly hydrate or communicate, and that leads to brain fog. Now, we talked about why we add the salt to the water, the sea salt specifically, but why is the lemon important? Well, the lemon adds more than just flavor. It actually provides potassium and citric acid, and these stimulate your vagus nerve receptors in your gut. And they also increase stomach acid production. So by drinking this, you're waking up your digestive system and improving nutrient absorption later in the day. The lemon also helps to support liver detoxification by increasing your bile flow, which is important for breaking down fats and eliminating inflammatory metabolites overnight. Do this before coffee because coffee on an empty, dehydrated system will spike your cortisol and can actually increase intestinal permeability, and we don't want that. Now, if you're doing this hydration routine that I just went over and you're still crashing by 10 a.m., it might be because you're missing a really important biological reset button that's hiding in plain sight. And I'm talking about sunlight. So step 2 is to get direct sunlight into your eyes within 30 minutes of waking for a minimum of 5 minutes. Now, I'm not talking about staring into the sun. You don't want to do that. But letting the sun hit your face is important. It's actually circadian biology. And it's especially critical if you have an autoimmune condition. Here's the science behind why this is so important. Your circadian rhythm, which is your 24-hour internal clock, is controlled by light exposure to special cells that are in your eyes. And when light hits these cells, they send a signal to your brain to release cortisol and serotonin while suppressing melatonin, which is the hormone that helps you to fall asleep. That tells every system in your body that it's morning, it's time to wake up, focus, and digest and repair. But when you stay inside or rely on artificial light, those signals never reach full strength. And your immune system, and especially your T regulatory cells, which are the special cells that keep your immune system from attacking its own tissue, become dysregulated. Now, research shows us that disrupted circadian rhythms increase autoimmune activity and inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. So 5 minutes of sunlight isn't just an energy boost, it's actually training your immune system. And to make it a little bit easier, I like to pair steps 1 and 2 together. You can drink your warm lemon water with sea salt outside, let the sunlight hit your face, and remember, don't wear sunglasses or do this through a window because glass actually blocks the wavelengths that your body needs. Okay, so here's where 90% of my autoimmune clients sabotage themselves and don't even know they're doing it. And it happens at the breakfast table, which brings us to step 3, which is to make sure that you eat protein within 60 minutes of waking up in the morning. And I'm talking about 25 to 30 grams. Now, if you're like some of my clients, maybe you wake up, you drink coffee, maybe grab a piece of toast or a smoothie, and wonder why by 10 a.m. you're struggling to get through the day. You're exhausted and you're dealing with that brain fog. And the reason behind this is that blood sugar dysregulation triggers inflammatory cytokine release. So it always comes back to those cytokines and inflammation. When you eat a high carb, low protein breakfast, or maybe even skip breakfast entirely, your blood sugar spikes and then crashes. And that roller coaster activates your sympathetic nervous system, your body's fight or flight response. And that triggers the release of those inflammatory chemicals, cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. These are the same cytokines that drive autoimmune flares. So every time you eat a carb-heavy breakfast or go too long without eating, you're literally triggering an inflammatory cascade that will lead to brain fog, maybe joint pain, and fatigue. Now, I know that fasting gets a lot of attention for its benefits, and yes, research does show us that short, structured fasting can temporarily lower inflammation and improve metabolic health. But for many women with autoimmune disease, especially those who are already dealing with adrenal stress or thyroid imbalances, skipping meals can actually do the opposite. When your body goes too long without food, cortisol rises to keep your blood sugar stable. And cortisol, while it can be really helpful in short bursts, is also a pro-inflammatory hormone when it stays elevated. And that means that what starts out as a healthy stressor for some people can actually increase inflammation and fatigue and even trigger autoimmune flares in women whose immune systems are already dysregulated. So instead of fasting through breakfast, focus on a protein-rich, blood sugar stabilizing meal in the morning. This is also going to support your neurotransmitter production, specifically dopamine and norepinephrine, which control focus and motivation. But it's also going to provide the amino acids that your gut lining needs to repair. So exactly what does 25 to 30 grams of protein look like? So this could be 3 eggs and 2 pastured sausages, or a protein smoothie with grass-fed whey powder or beef protein isolate powder, and maybe some almond butter. Or leftover salmon from dinner with some vegetables. It doesn't have to be a typical breakfast food. The other thing is that you want to make sure that you eat while you're sitting down without your phone and that you chew thoroughly. Chewing is so underrated, and your gut-brain connection works both ways. So when you're stressed or distracted while you're eating, you don't produce adequate digestive enzymes. These are released as we start to chew our food. And that means you don't fully absorb the nutrients properly, which then means your brain doesn't get what it needs to function properly. Okay, so you've hydrated, you've gotten light, you've eaten protein, but if you skip this 5-minute practice, your gut and your brain still will not communicate properly. I want you to try to start your day with 5 minutes of intentional breathing. And don't worry, I'm not talking about a long meditation routine or something that's going to take a lot of time out of your day. Just 5 minutes, you can even set a timer of controlled breathing. And here's why this is important specifically for autoimmune brain fog. Your vagus nerve is the main communication highway between your gut and your brain. It physically connects your gut and your brain, and it runs from your brainstem down through your digestive tract. When your vagus nerve is functioning well, it sends anti-inflammatory signals that actually calm your immune system. But chronic stress, autoimmune inflammation, poor gut health, these are all factors that can reduce vagal tone, and this means that your vagus nerve isn't communicating effectively. This is why you can feel wired but tired. Your brain and gut are not talking to each other properly, and specifically exhaling longer than you inhale activates your vagus nerve and it shifts you into a parasympathetic mode. This is what we call your rest and digest state. So here's the pattern I want you to try, and you can even pause this video and try it right now. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts, and then exhale through your mouth for 6 to 8 counts. I want you to repeat this for 5 minutes. Research backs this up because scientists have found that just 5 minutes of this breathing pattern can reduce inflammatory markers like IL-6 and cortisol by up to 30%. That's a measurable biological change happening in your body. It's not placebo or wishful thinking. Now, I know that you might be thinking, Jen, this sounds great, but I barely have enough time to get myself and my kids out the door. But here's the truth. You're really not adding 30 minutes. You're reorganizing the time that you already spend. And this is what I mean by that. You're already drinking something in the morning, most likely. So you can make it salt water with lemon instead of coffee. You can have your coffee later. Maybe you're already going outside to get the mail or walk your dog. And this is when you can spend your time outside absorbing that morning sunlight. Hopefully, you're already eating breakfast. And so instead of eating something that's carb heavy or grabbing a protein bar, I want you to front load that breakfast with protein. You also want healthy fat and fiber too, but try to get 25 to 30 grams of protein. And instead of scrolling on your phone for 5 minutes, replace that time with 5 minutes of the breathing exercise that I shared with you. So this isn't about becoming a morning person or getting up at 5 a.m. I've tried that. It's really hard to do. But it's about working with your biology instead of against it. And that's exactly what my Autoimmune Harmony Roadmap will show you how to do. So if you're realizing that your daily habits might be triggering your immune system instead of supporting it, I want to give you something that's going to help you to start turning that around. And that's my Autoimmune Harmony Roadmap. It's a free guide that's going to walk you through the 3 foundational steps that I use with my clients to calm inflammation and uncover your personal flare triggers, and also begin healing leaky gut, which is, as you know now, a major cause of brain fog. Inside, you're going to learn how to start connecting the dots so that you can understand what's triggering your inflammation and causing your brain fog. You're also going to learn 3 key nutrients that will help you to start rebuilding your gut barrier and restore your focus. And you'll learn a simple tracking method that will help you to connect the dots between what you eat and how you feel so you can see what's going on inside of your body. The link is in the description box below. Go grab it now before you close this video. Now, let me show you the research that proves why this morning routine works at the cellular level. And this is super interesting, so stick with me. The timing of when you eat and when you get light exposure and when you activate your vagus nerve directly impacts your inflammatory markers measurably within hours. A 2023 study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology showed that women with autoimmune thyroid disease who consumed protein within 1 hour of waking had a 40% lower inflammatory cytokine level by midday. Another study from 2022 in Frontiers in Immunology found that morning light exposure within 30 minutes of waking improved T regulatory cell function in autoimmune patients, the exact cells that prevent your immune system from attacking your own tissues. And research on vagal tone consistently shows that 5 to 10 minutes of controlled breathing reduces IL-6 and TNF-alpha. And again, these are the inflammatory markers that cause joint pain, brain fog, and fatigue. So this isn't about willpower or motivation. This is about giving your body the signals that it needs when it needs them so that your immune system can regulate itself naturally. Now, before we wrap up, I just want to know which of these 4 steps surprised you the most. Was it the salt water, the sunlight timing, the protein amount, or the breathing pattern? Leave a number in the comments. You could put 1, 2, 3, or 4 so I know which one surprised you the most. I read every single one, and your answer is going to help me know what subjects to cover in future videos. Now, when you start your day this way, you're not just improving your mornings, you're retraining your gut-brain connection. You're sending a signal to your body that it's safe and nourished and ready to function the way it was designed to. When your gut feels safe, your immune system feels safe. That's when healing starts. Now, if you're ready to take this one step further and uncover the hidden foods that might still be sabotaging your focus and leading to brain fog, don't miss the next video. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.